What's up, my fellow half-bloods? It is finally here. I know we're doing this like 3 days after the fact, but the season finale of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Book 1, The Lightning Thief, has come to an end. We're here to talk about Percy Jackson, and I'm so glad to be joined by none other than Amarú Moses, who, when I found out how big of a fan of these books he is, I was kind of shocked because, these books came out when I was in, middle school. So knowing he was, about to graduate high school, most likely, it's one of those things where I was like, wait, Amarú's down with the Olympians? Hold on.
Yes. We're just two black dudes who really enjoy children's television and books because they're greatly written and greatly done. And I'm happy about it. It is, I know we both have the Harry Potter stuff in the room. Percy Jackson is my favorite book series. Bar none. The whole thing, including all of it, Egyptian one with the canes and Magnus with the Norse mythology to Trials of Apollo. Favorite book series ever.
So my favorite isn't Harry Potter. My favorite is actually the Inheritance Cycle, which is about to get the Percy Jackson treatment, apparently. So you'll actually see me have a video on that sometime in the next couple weeks, maybe even this upcoming week, depending on how this weekend goes. But Percy Jackson was something that I discovered in middle school, and I loved it. It spoke to me, especially as a kid with ADHD. And I've always been for fantasy and sci-fi and everything that this goes into. So delving into Greek mythology and using that was just awesome and cool. And part of the reason why we both hate the 20th Century Fox movie. One good thing did come out of that, though, and that's Fox sold to Disney, and now we're able to get this. So, hey, we're here to talk about Percy and overall this first season of what's hopefully going to be 5 to 8. I don't think we're going to be able to get the Prophecy of the Seven in, but I'll delve into that later.
I don't see how we would. Okay, anyway. They should milk this shit for all it's worth because it's worth it.
Okay, we'll start off with this. This show definitely has, between reviews from fans, critics, just the overall positive response should definitely garner everything you'd expect the Percy Jackson series to garner, which is the spinoffs and everything. However, I think the biggest issue is if you wanted to do the Prophecy of the Seven, you would have to do it as a one-season type show because of how those kids are going to age. I know you've seen the Disney stuff the past week or so and how much different Walker Scobell looks now compared to when this show started. It's like the transition of Draco Malfoy in the first 2 Harry Potter movies to the third, where he looks like a completely different person and sounds like a completely different person.
Very true. 100% true. So yes, it is. The aging thing is going to be a lot, but hey, we took Logan Lerman at face value. So
no, we didn't. no, we didn't.
I took Logan Lerman at face value. I did not take the writing and the direction. Sorry, Chris Columbus, and everything else.
I didn't take no. I love Logan Lerman. I never was down for that because I knew exactly what happened, what that meant when he was cast. But the reason I say 5 to 8 books is because for those people who don't know, Rick Riordan has started a sequel series about Percy trying to get into college. First book came out this past September. The second book comes out this September, and I actually listened to it. I don't know if you did.
I have not read Chalice yet. Books for some reason take me a lot longer to get through, but once I get through them, I'm done. So I'm still waiting for Chalice to get to it. It is in my bookshelf now.
See, I'm the person who, hey, I have bad ADD and I do so much stuff as a side job. I gotta just, and with all the screenings and screeners we get, I just have to throw it on as an audiobook. And I actually like it. It's a little bit more of a slice of life, but it's about him trying to get into college, and each book is going to be about him getting a recommendation letter he needs to do so. So it'd be a nice way to cap off the series, arguably. But yeah,
we'll see.
But let's focus on this first season now, and I gotta say that I was blown away. I know some people said the ending felt a little bit hollow, which I can understand to a certain degree. And some people didn't like certain changes, like Backbiter already being there.
I honestly forgot about Backbiter. So like, it's been so long since I've read the original book. I was like, when did that come in? I don't care.
Second book. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's super early, but so for those who don't know, I did a review on the first 2 episodes with Colin back when, or the first episode, whichever. Did we get a 2-episode drop?
We got a 2 episode.
So the 2-episode premiere, I did a review with Colin and Amarú popped in the chat, and after that, I went onto my Libby app, and requested all the books on audiobook and just binged through them. So like all of the lore from the books fresh in my mind. I was able to catch a lot of Easter eggs and nods and changes of information we got early on compared to later on, which honestly I kind of dug, especially when it comes to some of the changes we got in regards to Luke. You need me to refresh your memory?
So here's the thing: what I do. So like I go by what my brother does. He did it with Harry Potter. He didn't read any of the books till all of them were done, and he's like, "No, I'm going to watch what I watch. I'm going to watch what they give me." And I have read the Percy Jackson books, all of them, and all of the spinoffs at least 4 times a piece. I've read them a bunch. It's been a long time. Aside from the fact when I had to read it teaching 6th grade because it's a part of the 6th grade curriculum.
Yeah.
But I am very much a proponent of, even with adaptations, as long as it sticks closer to the material, and I'm telling, and as
this is a fantastic job of that.
I am flabbergasted by the conversations I've seen of people talking about, I hate the changes. What changes? This isn't the book. I'm like, are you outside your mind?
Yeah.
Because this is one of the closest adaptations
we've ever seen
of material I have seen. But I always am even if I read it, I separate the visual from the book and say, what are you giving me? And does it make sense? And if it does, I'm good with it.
That's what I was about to get into. I think almost every single change that they gave us makes sense. The Luke change I'm referring to is we don't find out his backstory and the fact that Annabeth met Hermes with him until like book 4 or 5.
You can't do that with this series.
Yeah.
When you spoilers, everybody, because
we've read it.
We are spoiling this because we're doing the whole video. You cannot have a show with Luke turning without giving him that backstory now, because the show's going to focus on our trio. Exactly. So you have to bring it in now. And even then, I'll tell you this, it feels like we didn't even get that much of Luke anyway. Right. We got just the right amount to be like, oh shit, yeah. And then you push into him a lot more in season 2.
Yeah, and that's what I get, because I know we're really not gonna get a ton of Luke until what would be season 5, The Last Olympian, because that's when he's taken over by Kronos, blase. But to be able to get that information now for those people who are just getting into this without even reading the books, it helps provide them an avenue into a better understanding of why he doesn't like the gods and why he's feeling this certain type of way. And the fact that his mom is a seer, which that's something I can spoil, because even though we originally don't find out about it till books later, because the show went ahead and did that. So changes like that, changes like Annabeth not getting into too much depth about the issues between her family, I understood it. It makes sense. The changes to, I know a lot of people are complaining about the Lotus Hotel episode, because a lot of people I have seen have said the movie did it better, and I'm like, look, they
no.
Yes, I have seen quite a few people say the movie did it better, because the movie did give you that grand scope. I will give it that. It gave you that grand scope as it was described in the book. But this gave you a more meaningful story.
Yes. Yes, 100%. So, like, I've been having a conversation with a fellow bite-sizer who did not like the show. And
does the name start with a Q?
No, he's not watching that, and he knows he's not watching that, and I will never tell him to watch that. It is not for him whatsoever. For those of y'all who know, but they started out like saying this is okay, but a lot of it feels flat, and it's particularly the Lotus Hotel. And what I will give you is the set of the hotel in the movie is
much more exotic.
Is grander. It's quote unquote better. One, this is a TV budget compared to a movie budget. Secondly, that's what casinos look like. So you also have to like get in there. And thirdly, exactly what you said. I am good with a toned down set as long as it looks like the feel of everything is there. If the story is hitting, I'm like, yo, sure. There's a bunch of volume in this. There is a bit of blandness in some of the sets.
Yes.
But I am okay with it because I think it looks good enough because what I'm focused on is the story, is the way they weave in the writing and the acting. Who cares whether or not it's a big grand casino? I'd rather have this quote unquote bland casino with such a greatly written episode than fucking Grover having women dancing. No. So anyway,
and I did like how the children were more aware of the myth of the Lotus Eaters compared to being not knowing a damn thing in the movie. There changes that make sense. As much as some people want to argue that they don't, I feel like they really did and help move the story forward and have it be a much more entertaining and thought out story. Like it's they're adding layers that they could add later, but by adding them now, stuff that you and I know that's going to hit later is going to be more impactful. Now, I also did like the little Easter egg in the Lotus Hotel of Nico and Bianca. I don't know if you caught that.
So so it's been so long I read it. I was like, where Nico Bianca? And then after the show, I was like, wait, they're not in this book. They come later. So I went back and saw, and people were like, oh, there's Nico, there's Bianca, there's Nico. And I'm like, y'all are reaching, but maybe you're not reaching. I don't know. So I didn't catch it.
So,
and I was just like,
so there is one confirmed by the producers.
Okay.
There you can hear voices in the background of Grover and the other satyr talking of a little boy calling Bianca, 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 trying to find her. And later on, a little girl calling for Nico, Nico, Nico.
I'm going to have to run that back because I did not. Because I was searching.
I'll send you a link because I did read the story about it. And that's how I found it. And I listened to it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I dig that because that's something, knowing that that's not till book 3. If you cast that now, you'd have to recast just a couple of years.
Yes, you would.
So I don't get why people were physically looking for them because that would have made zero sense.
Me, because I just forgot. Really, I just forgot. One thing I'll say about the changes, because since we're on that topic, like, again, I don't mind any of the changes. I saw people talking about why was there no poodle? Because the poodle is not key to this damn story. That's why you got to take things out. I would honestly say the changes they made and the additions they put into the show are the best parts of the show.
Yes.
The way that they changed Medusa and what's her name? Nicole Kennedy Parker? Or is it Nicole Parker?
The mother of monsters.
But the actress who played Medusa.
The actor. Sarah Parker.
Kennedy. I think.
Sarah Parker Kennedy.
Sincerely apologize if we don't know your name. The way that they played her compared to the book and the movie, playing her more not as menacing in the first place, much more inviting in the first place, was brilliant. And then turning her. The best part of this show and the MVP of this show was the addition in the 7th episode of Sally Jackson and her backstory.
Yes.
Oh my God, Virginia Cole killed it from front to back. We did not. Sally Jackson in the book is not as present, as present or as sure of herself or strong against Gabe as she was in the first episode. She's a great mother, but she's a little bit more, I'm going to lean back and focus on Percy. Virginia Cullen, the decision to play her really, really down for her son, not taking shit from Gabe, just out there and giving her that entire added scene in episode 7.
Mhm.
That is probably some of the best written stuff.
With her and Poseidon,
her and young Percy, some of the best stuff in the entire show.
Where
and
she
it's not in the book.
Where she straight up said, I want him to figure out who he is and not have your family tell him who he is or what they want him to be. I was like, yes.
And then the second MVP of this whole show was another added scene that is not a part of any of the books, that happened during the Tunnel Love episode. The conversation between Grover and Adam
Ares.
Copeland as the best Ares that Ares could be. Edge killed it. That entire scene of Grover trying to manipulate him with his empathic powers and going back, beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I know a lot of people hated,
so good.
A lot of the people hated the fact that they kept getting split up. I'm like, but here's the thing: they're being split up with a purpose, and each of them still has their own importance to what's going on. So it's fine. Like if it was just being split up and we don't see Grover until they come back, yeah, I'd be upset. But seeing him manipulate and cut through Ares' ego just to try to get information out of him, beautiful. Because
Grover, I was just saying, and the little seed that they put when they have Annabeth go back from the underworld before them because she has a regret.
Yeah.
And that seed that they're planning for future seasons about what is that regret?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so good.
Yeah, it's people. What the complaint? Well, I do understand some complaints. Like there were a few times we already touched on it. The volume, yeah, I could understand complaints like that, but they took liberties with the story, but it wasn't major liberties that do a disservice. I'd say 9.9 times out of 10, a change they made either did service to the story or improved the story. Because you're adding more layers to some of these characters that ultimately is going to help explain their actions later on.
Yes.
And
100%.
I mean, Percy already sticking up to Zeus, where that was something I like. I know some people hated the fact that this is one of the biggest changes, but I once the season was finished, I agreed with the change. Percy having failed the deadline.
Yeah.
To have him fail the deadline, still complete the quest in its entirety, and still go up to Zeus and said, here, I didn't do this. Here's what happened. Now cut the bullshit and don't go through this war. That shows you the power that the character has and how little he gives a fuck about who his uncle is and what power he has.
On top of that, shed a tear, Lance Reddick in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Whoo, for one. Second, doing that also allowed for us to actually connect to Poseidon more.
Yes.
Because there's no reason for Poseidon to really be in this series more than hey, I'm here. Okay, peace out. Him having to surrender, him having to stop him because the war is going to still happen. It gave a reason to connect to Poseidon, a character who is barely in the show. That gave you something to hold on to. And it's like, if you have such important characters who don't have much screen time, you got to give them something to make you want to care about them, good, bad, or otherwise. And if he makes the deadline, the only time you see Poseidon is, congratulations, Percy, good job. This gives you another reason to show why Toby Stevens was cast, to show why Toby Stevens versus Lance Reddick was cast, and to give you something to hold on to for characters you don't get much screen time for.
Well, it also goes in a way to show you how much Poseidon actually cares about Percy, because the biggest issue that I will agree, it's hard, but because it's an adaptation, you have to live with it. the Percy Jackson books are told in first person and you're inside Percy's head at all times. We don't get this in the show. We get it with the opening and the ending as voiceovers. But like, for example, the whole falling from the St.
Louis Arch,
yeah, that there's this whole internal monologue that ultimately he chose that, and it's, if you know that as a book reader, makes that entire sequence even more powerful, because you can some people are like, oh, he just fell, that kind of sucks, and then I'm like, no, I looked and I saw the internal struggle on his face. Like, he looked down and then he looked back up and he let go real quick because he knew it was either, hey, I'm going out on my terms and hoping that my dad's going to do something with this water nearby, or what. But it's, when you add Toby Stevens and you're getting to see the levels that his dad does care about him, especially in that moment, because Percy is very standoffish in the books with his father up until, I want to say, towards the end. And that's why, ultimately, I'm not going to go too deep into spoilers, when certain things happen, in the end, he asks the gods to do something specifically to avoid situations like this happening again. And I think by showing his dad does care, that's going to get rid of some of that resentment, but also add to why he's going to ask that, because every child should feel a parent's love like that. Like, it's a change that, it's drastic, but it makes sense. Also, I'm very thankful we don't have to see Zeus until like season 5, because that would be tough. Like,
to follow him up. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. It's a very convenient thing, convenient in a good way.
Yes.
And saying anything good with Lance Reddick passing, but you know what I mean. That gods don't have to have they can pick whatever form they want.
Yes.
So being able to recast is a easy thing to explain.
Yes.
But having to follow up that him yelling "boy" was,
especially with the lightning in the background. Ooh.
It's a lot to follow up. But yeah, I had no issues. I can't think of a change that I was mad about, like, at all. I can't think of, there might have been an episode where I was like, oh, I wish they had that. But I don't remember it because it wasn't that big of a deal.
Exactly.
So question to you. So we'll go to the other side, because this show is not perfect. There are things that can be improved. What are some things you didn't like? What were some things that you were like, this can definitely do better, there's room for growth, stuff like that?
Room for growth is definitely, filmmakers, if you're going to utilize the volume, need to learn how to properly shoot on the volume, because most of the time I was totally fine with it. It worked. That last scene between Percy and Ares, that fight, I was like, oh, you can tell this is volume. When we were in the underworld, to tell this looks a little bit cheesy. We're in the volume. Olympus to a certain degree, but Olympus, I think they focused a lot of detail on, and it was more passable than a couple other major sets. I would like them to get. I loved Grover. I love the actor who played Grover. I especially loved that moment that he got with Ares. There was times where I thought they made him play a little too timid, where so they could have completely done Grover dirty like they did in the movies and made him a Ron Weasley comedic just presence type, and that would have been an entire disservice. So I am happy with the portrayal we got. However, there are times where Grover does have confidence, and I wish we got a little bit more of that.
Okay, I didn't see that. I thought it was a great balance for Arian. I think his last name is Siddhartha or something like that. Again, sorry.
We don't want to butcher
long week. I don't have anything up. It's a long week. Forgive me. I know it's Arian, and the scene with him in Ares showed that confidence. A lot of other places where he puts himself out there for that corny ass song to stop them from arguing was a great mixture of his timidness with the confidence to be like, I'm gonna just go out there and tell y'all to shut up. Then actually telling Percy and Annabeth where they're both lying to each other. Like I saw that, so that's interesting because I didn't catch that. I actually thought,
I don't have a lot of complaints. That's why I said
Yeah.
a little bit more. A little bit more.
I see it. For me, the biggest thing, and this is from episode 1, I thought that the big reveals in the action sequences were anticlimactic.
Yes, but I also attributed that to the TV budget. That was
Sure, exactly. So there were two reasons, two things around it where it didn't kill it for me, but it was like that's what could be better. One, considering the TV budget and the constraints, sure. Secondly, though, everything else around it. The second, first episode, the first fight with the Minotaur fight and the first thing with the Lecto. When it was done that quickly, I was like, oh, that's it. But then all of a sudden, the acting came back, the story came back. I was like, cool. Same thing with the Minotaur. Virginia Cole beforehand with her powerful monologue in the rain before that. And then afterwards, everything we got after getting Glenn Turman back and all the acting. As soon as the Minotaur was done, I was like, man, I wanted like another minute and a half with the Minotaur and a little bit more tension and a little bit more fight. And I would say for just about every action scene, even though they were good, what I'm hoping is the following seasons, they get more budget, they get a little more time, maybe more episodes or a little bit more runtime where all of them are around 45 and 50, or 10 episodes instead of 8, which Disney never does that. So we're probably getting 8 again. But just more time to breathe. And not just the action sequences, I'll also attribute that to like the reveals. Yes. The reveal of Luke in the end, I was like, oh, damn, y'all are done with that already. But then I was right back in because the fight was great. The acting was great. So that is the one tiny gripe I've had with the show where it's like, man, I felt that anticlimacticness, but I brush it off real quick.
So the reveal with Luke is actually better in the show than it is in the book. I'm gonna say that right now. Because there is no fight in the book. It's just him speaking to Percy, and then he sticks that scorpion on him. Mm-hmm. So there's no actual fight. So that, to me, I can understand why you're like, oh, it's too short. But to me, that was just a little added bonus.
Yeah, but I mean, before the fight though.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he just went, "You're the one," and I was like, kids show. They gotta just say it, and I get it.
Well. Remember, I actually that's a change they made. Also, Percy didn't realize Luke was the one in the book. Luke had to just come out and say it to him. Mm-hmm. So
I don't mind that change. Yeah. Again, I just thought that the reveal of it I was like, oh yeah, I did it already. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's and then once they kept going, I was like, cool, I'm back in it again. So that's the one thing I'm hoping next seasons they'll have a little bit more time to breathe, a little bit more tension, and all the big set stuff that like budget would constrain, the runtime would constrain, episode number would constrain. But that's a reason, or I'll wait till my rating to the end if we're going to do that. But that's a reason it is what it is instead of a higher rating.
Yeah, no, it's. I will say this: I'm proud of the fandom who was being very toxic when the casting came out for just completely changing their tune after watching the show.
Yeah,
and you it's 2 young black men. Oh, maybe we're not so young anymore.
We're still young. Don't do that. Not even 40 yet. So not even 40 yet.
I'm a year away from 30. It's hit me hard mentally.
Look, I'm telling you now. When you wake up on that day of 30, something is gonna hurt, and you're gonna be like, "This is reality." Yes, everybody. You wake up on 30, and something hurts,
bro. That was 29 for me. I've had back issues from a car accident for years, so that's been long gone for me. But no, the cast is just really phenomenal. They embodied everything about these characters. I have a buddy. He actually is one of my managers at work now. But we went to high school together, and he was the only other person I knew of at the time to read the Percy Jackson series. We were in show choir together. We had a lot of the same classes together. So like he and I'd get in trouble when like book 4 and 5 came out and we're just sitting there in class trying to read. We got in trouble for reading because we're like, well, screw what's going on in this math class. I'm getting sucked into the world.
Math teacher, what are you doing?
I just threw out a random my worst course. Like I sucked at math, so that's why I just threw. But yeah, it was just. But we got trouble. So like he thought the show didn't even start yet. So last week when I told him like, oh no, the finale is just coming Tuesday, he's like, oh, I'm gonna get on that then. And he even said, he's like, I understand why they recast. It's one of those things where I had to. This is before he's even watched it. He's like, Rick gave us something and told us these are what these characters look like. However, Rick is also the one telling us to forget what we know about how these characters look, which is why it's easier for me to do that. And I think, especially because he watched it and he started watching it. And he's like, okay, this girl plays a perfect Annabeth. She really embodied everything that Annabeth is as a character, whether you're listening to the book, reading the book, and because let's face it, Alexandra Daddario, as good of an actress as she is now, she was just a pretty face for those first two movies.
Yes, everything about those movies I just don't like.
Man, it's one of those things to where I feel like because of how poor those scripts were, she wasn't given much to work with, and I understand that. But we never get to see Annabeth's cunning or bravery, and we get to see that here, especially the Tunnel of Love, when her and Percy realize one person has to sit down in this chair. Major change. That I like that way more than the Hephaestus TV that we get in the books.
And the spiders and stuff. Which I love that they went back and said, Annabeth is scared of spiders a little later to give you like, we didn't forget.
And I know a lot of people have complaints that this show does tell, not show. And it's like, here's the thing. You need to accept there's a budget to this. There's TV constraints. Secondly, they tell you in small, it's not like they're telling you in these long monologues. You drop little nuggets so that when it goes back to it, you're like, oh yeah, they did say this, and now we're getting to see it.
On top of the fact that, one, it is the first book, so you need to introduce that. Not only are you introducing these characters, it's Greek mythology.
Yes.
Do you know how deep Greek mythology goes? You have to tell all the intricacies of it. And I will say, after the first two episodes, the exposition was also one of the things I was like, that they could clean that up a little bit. And they did. Yeah. They found a really great balance of both show and tell. And honestly, if you don't remember the book is a lot of tell.
It's a lot of tell.
Are a lot of tell.
And again, I think that's what people are forgetting when they're saying like, "Oh, but we got to be in Percy's head." I'm like, that's because Percy's it's just an exposition of all of why and everything. There's a reason they're just showing in a quick tell. You might not be like. You're like, oh, they're doing show, not tell. But the book was just tell. There's not really a lot to show until later on. They're nuggets for a reason. They are ideas planted now to blossom and bring you enjoyment later.
And that is why you cast adult actors who are absolutely great in their roles to help the child actors or teenage actors who are still growing into themselves and balance that out. So like the fact that with the Hephaestus, Timothy Amundsen, Lassie, Lassie from Psych, he was the great Hephaestus because
he's Kane from Supernatural.
That on top of that, both of them, Psych and Supernatural are like here to me. So yes, to both of them. The fact that you get somebody who had a stroke and is recovering from it play the god who was disabled because he was thrown out, so he has that embodied in him. Perfect casting. I have been so damn happy about Mantzoukas, Glenn Turman, Virginia Cole, Adam Copeland. I will even say, even the one that was like the biggest change that, you know what, if you quote unquote complained about one change, I'm going to be mad at you, but I'm not going to be mad as Jay Duplass. That is not a that was not a
Yes.
Hades I was expecting.
No,
I was
Hades
not
was
expecting him to be that way. He
more
was
he was very reserved. He was very reserved compared to what I expected from Hades.
I'm the opposite, actually. He was sassy pants. He was Percy. He was a sassy ass Hades that I wasn't expecting. So
I mean,
shit.
reserved
I enjoyed it
how
though.
he looked for the most.
Okay, yes.
Because Hades was kind of even in the books comes off as like this semi-flamboyant, just I mean, and also chauvinistic and just materialistic, showing off what he has. And I will say this: that's one of the few things I did enjoy about the first movie was Steve Coogan's Hades. I'm not even gonna lie.
It's Stephen Coogan. It's Steve Coogan. He's great.
So
what I did miss, but I'm glad they put the little Easter egg. I was like, "Where's Persephone?
Yes,
Where's Persephone? I want Persephone." Oh, no Persephone, but you said the pomegranate, so you gave the little nod.
At the same time, she wasn't even supposed to be in the first book or first movie. Because
I still wanted her though.
I know, but it's summer. Summer, she gets to go to Olympus. That's
Yes.
really. So, I mean, but again, respecting the source material, making changes. Because I know people who are like, oh yeah, I went back and watched the Percy Jackson movie after I started watching the show, and that's so different. I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't have watched the fucking movie. And I told you, I ended up going back and watching them right after the first 2 episodes because I was like, y'all got any more of that Percy? Y'all got any more of that Percy Jackson?
Look, I go back and read. If you haven't, also go and support everybody that Riordan publishes under the Rick Riordan Presents. Man, I'm so mad I don't have the book, but all the different authors doing stuff on their mythologies, they're just as great as Rick's books. Like, that's what I'm saying. You have such a pool to pull from. You can be doing this for decades.
Yes.
Like, this is as deep of a run of books and lore as the MCU is right now. You have all of that. And it's not just Rick. It's his books. The fact that the Kane Chronicles is coming out with a next Netflix movie, hopefully still, because that's been confirmed. When this TV show got confirmed, I can't wait for that. But going back to Jay, like, Jay was the one I was a little like, oh wow, this is different. But I enjoyed his portrayal and his performance.
Yeah.
All of the acting I thought was just top notch. And again, I cannot say enough how damn good Virginia Cole was in this film. It was in this show, and how damn perfect Edge was as Ares. Like, those are by far my 2 favorite performances of the show.
We got Golden Ichor, and I was so happy being able to see the Golden Ichor coming out of his calf. I was like, yes, just yes.
What were your favorite acting performances here?
So Walter Scobell nailed Percy Jackson to me. That is always what I imagine the character to be, especially just the little bit of attitude while also being that coming of age teenager. That was one of my favorite. I also did love Toby Stevens as Poseidon, because adding that depth to him was just in this. Granted, that was primarily script work, but he ate it up and made me care about Poseidon much more than I ever expected. 5 minutes of Lance Reddick was definitely not enough. It sucks that it's only ever going to be 5 minutes, but I had so much fun with his Zeus. I also love that Zeus decided he wanted to look like a powerful black man, so there's that.
I legit got goosebumps. Like, I don't get goosebumps much watching things. When they switched to talking Greek, asking who knows about I was like, ooh, this is why you hired these guys. This right here is why you hired them. It was so good.
And then I wish we got more of them, because I know Mr. D is such a precedence in the books with Jason Mantzoukas, where literally he doesn't even have to act. He just has to be himself. Like,
and just improv the whole thing. That's it. Just include Peter Johnson and do whatever else you want after that.
Yes, and it's so fun. I wish that they explained. That's the one thing I wish they explained, is why he's always drinking Diet Coke, because that's the one detail. Like, you see him drinking Diet Coke, but they don't say why. And It's like I wish just the book fan of me is like, it's one little detail. You've done a lot of quick tells, and you can't tell us like, yeah, he's been. They didn't even mention how he's. I think he might have mentioned he's on punishment, but they never
He
know.
did. That's
Yes.
that was the introduction in that first episode.
Yes.
When he tries to go get him to get wine.
Yes.
And Chiron does tell him, no, he's on punishment. He's not supposed to be doing this, so he's trying to get you to do it.
Yes.
They do mention it.
Okay, it's 7 weeks ago, Rue. My mind's already gone. Woo! I had so much fun on this trip that I've totally forgot what the first 2 episodes, for the most part, outside of the major moments. But
and who I'm excited for next season is Dior Goodjohn as Clarice, because she was really good. I know there was like a meme out of people like laughing, liking or hating the scream, and I was like, that was great. That was exactly what an Aries. That's exactly what Clarice would do.
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
I'm very curious. I know in that very shitty sequel, we got to see what Kronos looks like in his form. I'm very curious going forward what that will be. Because if you read the books, we never actually see Kronos's cut up form for the most part. He essentially possesses someone else is the best way to go about it. So there's so many little details that I want to explore, or I want them to explore and have fun with, but it's really awesome to be able to go back and not just have to, when I'm in a Percy Jackson mood, not just have to watch the Fox movies anymore. Yes. I can have a nice like 4-hour mini vacation over 2 nights, or maybe even 4 nights if you want to break it up that way, and just.
I got the first 4 episodes early.
Yeah.
And so I had to wait 4 weeks.
That's been me with a lot of the Marvel shows.
So I just been watching. Shout out to Monty at Montyverse for doing a run through of each of those episodes. I've been so glad, because I've been calling for it, and he was the one who responded, and I was like, yes, sir, yes, thank you. Him and Nikki over on the Montyverse channel. So I've been watching those reactions until I got to the new episodes. But my wife, who watched them, didn't watch the other 4. So I can't wait till she watches the other 4, because I get to watch them again.
No, so for me, growing up, my mom is who I watched Percy Jackson, or who I read Percy Jackson with. Like, normally, if I was reading something, she was reading something. When I started reading Harry Potter, she started reading Harry Potter. When I started reading the Inheritance Cycle, she started reading the Inheritance Cycle. When I started reading Percy Jackson, she started reading it, because we used to take road trips to Southern Ohio, about 3-4 hour drives, to visit her family. So she would a lot of times just rent an audiobook from the library from a series that we either started or had talked about. This is what we were going to go to next. Boom. Just listen on the way, would pause to talk about stuff. But like, so for me, Tuesday nights, if I didn't have a screening, which thankfully this is like the dead time of year, so I didn't have a ton of them. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m., she came over and we watched Percy Jackson together.
Nice.
So that was something, especially now that I've moved out into my own house, that was something that made this even more special for me, because I got to experience it with the person who I love, who I grew up enjoying Percy Jackson with, and seeing even the look on her face. Granted, we didn't watch the finale together because we had a screening that night, and I said we got out. Unfortunately it was Argyle. The screening got out at like 9:40, and she's like, "Are you willing to wait for tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Sorry, Ma, I need to see it."
Gotta see it now.
Jen came. We came home. Jen went to bed. I stayed up and watched it, and then I watched the documentary that dropped along with it. And Wednesday, I went to the Cavs game. She came over and watched it with Jen, and Jen told me, even just watching it with my mom and seeing how excited and happy it made her, just even made the experience better. So, like, for Christmas, I got her the same Camp Half-Blood shirt. Like, that's how close my mom and I are when it comes to Percy Jackson. So,
yeah, all I know, I have been a very happy person these past 8 weeks because I will rail against those movies for the rest of all time. Anybody who knows me knows you mentioned those movies, and I am going to fuck you. Fuck you and everything you stand for, mentioning that damn film. Oh,
all right. So I gotta ask. It's very weird to say who do you want to see in major roles going forward, because I think the only major role that would technically be added next season would be Hermes, who we already have.
Tyson.
So that is a good one. Who do you cast as a Tyson in this?
Do the same thing you did with this one. Somebody we don't know. I can't think of just older kid, an older teenager.
Okay,
we don't know.
You can't say. I do have one though. Actually, we all knew about Walker Scobell because of the Adam Project. So
sure, but we did not know about Leah, and we didn't because I didn't see Beast, and we did not know about Arian. So yeah, but I have somebody I think I like for Tyson. And I think he might be the right age because Cyclopses are like you. I'm gonna screw up his game because I've been screwing up games all night. Gattinzaro, whatever Gattinzaro. Gattinzaro from Stranger Things.
It would work if it weren't for one thing. He's very short because of his genetic.
They can make it work.
So, personally, when it comes to Tyson, what I want to see them do is take a page out of, funny enough, the Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbird and the Snake. Part of me wants them to cast a younger, disabled actor, like you know,
with Down syndrome.
Yeah, because Tyson is a sweetheart. If you read the book, if you listen to it, they say something is off with him, and they just nobody can ever put. It would make total sense.
It would, and they would treat it. They would treat it well. They would treat it like I just looked it up. Lauren Potter on Glee.
Yes,
the actress with Down syndrome who was the cheerleader who was sassy as fuck and so good in it. I would not be mad at that.
And I think, considering Rick has been on record saying about how he wants to be inclusive, especially going with this series going forward, it would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I think that's something that, especially since it did colorblind casting for this show, that hit me a little bit strong. That's why I love Hamilton so much, because it's just like it's we want people to feel represented. We didn't want to just do an all-white cast. America's a melting pot. Let's make people feel seen. And I don't feel like there's enough roles out there for people with various disabilities, whether it be Down syndrome, whether it be autism, wheelchair-bound characters, and so on and so forth. So, I would love if they did that, because it provides more inclusion, and it also, if you read the book,
it fits the character.
It fits the character
100%
extremely well. And I think that would be really cool, especially to give someone like that their moment.
I mean, I'll say it now. It will provide ammo for some people to say, you think they're Cyclopses? No, I just think that it fits the character and they would do well in it.
Yeah.
Shut up.
It's giving out more roles and ability to be on the big screen or little or smaller screen to actors who might not otherwise have that opportunity.
I'm behind that. That's a good call. I like that idea for sure. I don't know who they would play. I don't know, but I'm moving forward. I don't know who they would play. I'm trying to run like gods through my heads who haven't showed up yet.
Athena.
Male gods, because it's me, and I don't go on a stream without mentioning Blind Spotting and David Diggs and Rafael Casal, because I feel like they would fit in 100% perfectly within this show. But I can't think of who they
funny enough, if they didn't do Manzukis, I think David would have been the choice for.
And if they didn't do Lin-Manuel, Rafael Casal would have killed it as Hermes.
I think he could kill it as Apollo too. Oh, he'll be too old. He'll be too old. But because
David might actually kill it as Apollo.
They'll both be too old. Because remember, he presents himself as like this 20-year-old hotshot kind of.
Sure.
So, but I otherwise I would agree. Like I'm sitting here.
You need to get Thalia at the end.
Yes.
Thalia needs to show up at the end. And I'm thinking, 1, is Athena going to be black? 2, is Thalia going to be black? Or are we just doing doesn't matter, which I won't care either way. But like Zeus is black now, so Thalia could be. And,
again, Zeus.
Well, not Athena. Not Athena.
Zeus could have been a white guy at the time. Like they might pull that. Or Thalia could be mixed. Hey, Nico Parker's young enough.
You don't know.
Nico Parker's young enough.
What book? They could change it because they already introduced. What book does Annabeth's dad comes in 4 technically, right?
Yes.
With the labyrinth, but the way they showed it, they could bring him back if we brought earlier to kind of give her more depth.
Yes.
Especially to connect to that scene I was talking about in the underworld. Possibly to kind of pull her in there and bring her and Luke's story in. Who would you want for her dad?
You want to know who I'm going to say the perfect Annabeth dad would be? Because I just think about him coming and having that silly scene in the bomber plane in book 4.
I don't know if you have the same guy I do, but I just have had
Brian Tyree Henry.
Ooh, that's even better than who I thought. Yes. I had Sterling K. Brown in my head because Sterling K. Brown is killing absolutely everything now. But Brian Tyree
Henry, because he really just has to play his character from the Eternals. That's all he'd have to play. Because his character from the Eternals is just
Festus.
a geek. Yes.
His name is Festus.
Yes. Instead of being just this mechanical, he's a historian and a geek about history. Yes, just yes. I could just see Paperboy coming in one of those planes. 100%.
100% for sure.
Going back to Athena. Athena is one of those weird ones. So we know Ares kids are if they're with other women of color or mixed. Athena, because there's no actual. And they cover this
intercourse happening.
Yes,
there's no intercourse happening.
Yeah, there's no intercourse. And this was something we actually don't learn until book 4 that I like that we learned earlier on.
Brought in, yeah.
We're born from our so it's a meeting of the minds. I present you with this gift of this child born from my so
Athena can be anybody.
Yeah, Athena. I feel like here you're coming out the color of your daddy, and I'm just your mother technically. Like, there's just I don't know who I'd want to play Athena though. Like, it's very weird. It's tough because do you make Athena black? But at the same time, that means you'd have to make almost everyone in Athena cabin black if that's the way you're going to do it. Like,
maybe not. I think you have a very good, not dilemma here, but a good thing with Athena's story because you don't have to worry about race. You just go with the best person who was on it because of the fact that they sprout from the meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
So I cannot get my mind off of older wise black ladies like Cheryl Lee Ralph and Felicia Rashad.
I love them. They're
a little too older. A little older.
See, you know what's funny? I'm thinking of a powerful black woman also. So Gina Torres. Gina Torres. Like,
that would be a good one. That would be a very good one because she fits. Period.
I have been watching Suits lately. I finally discovered it, and I was just like, oh, she'd be a pretty badass Athena because she's very wise in that show.
She is the original. She is the original badass woman.
Yeah.
For our age, because there was plenty before her.
Yep.
Pam Grier, but like Michelle Rodriguez, Charlize Theron, they owe a lot to Gina Torres. Yes. Lots to Gina Torres. So I like that call too.
I'm trying to think, what other gods do we really see throughout?
If we talk about Apollo, we got to talk about Artemis.
See, that one's tough because she presents herself as a teenager. So I feel like they have to cast even though in the book she presents herself as a 12-year-old. I feel like they have to cast 16 to 18 because she only shows up in Titan's Curse and
the last one, of course.
She shows up in the three in a row. No, because Titan's Curse is the one she's under holding the weight of the world. So yeah,
find somebody who's as good as Bella Ramsey was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
do that, and you're good. And you're good. Bella Ramsey is already gone. But find a Bella Ramsey type.
Hey,
you're wondering about it. Find a Bella Ramsey type.
Maybe if she's still looking young like that, you use hers.
I mean, yes, that would be a good choice for sure. Papa Pedro's being added to every single fandom and series on Earth, so he might show up somewhere.
Watch Pedro replace.
Lance Reddick.
Yep.
He's like, look, I'm just collecting trophies. I'm just trying to get into everything.
He would be the perfect Apollo if he wasn't too old.
He would. He'd be great. He'd be great. Yeah, but
there's because, and I part of me wishes we got to spend more time with other Greek gods because we never get to spend time with the full 12.
Yeah. At the end of book 1, aren't all of them there? Aren't all of them when he delivers?
Because he delivers it on solstice. That's why.
Okay.
So that's why I actually like the change because you don't have to lock yourself into these castings right now. You give yourself more freedom.
And you don't have to spend the money to cast these people. So,
hey, we need to lock you down for a potential 5-season deal for a show that might not run 5 seasons.
After this season, it did better run for 5 seasons, and then
I agree.
Again, I feel like this is. I've told everybody when I've told them how much of a Percy Jackson fan I am, and people are like, Percy Jackson, or like how successful Percy Jackson is. I'm like, you don't know. It has the potential to get to Harry Potter levels, but it's an uphill battle to get to Harry Potter levels. But it's so good that it's one of those just pieces of content that if they do it right, will be here for a long ass time.
Okay. So there's only one god we really don't get to spend time with, or a couple gods, and that's Demeter, Persephone, Hecate. But those are minor gods.
She gets real important towards the end, though.
Yeah, she does.
Aphrodite. Aphrodite's
I was about to say Aphrodite and Hera are the two major ones because we've actually seen every male god. We've seen
except
Ares.
Apollo. We haven't seen Apollo.
Except Apollo, but every male god besides Apollo, we've seen Ares, we've seen Hades, we've seen Hephaestus, Zeus, Dionysus, Poseidon. Hermes. So like. All you have left is Apollo. So
on the male side, yes.
So we start to see Hera, Athena, Demeter, Persephone, and she shows up more towards the end, and in the book series at least, because you don't explore the underworld again for the most part until the 5th book.
Right.
So you've got time, but like Apollo is a sooner rather than later because that's book 3. Athena is sooner rather than later because that's book 3. Hera is book 4. She comes in Battle of the Labyrinth. So they have time. I'm really curious who they could get. I know we touched on Athena, but Hera, the wife of Zeus, like. That's one I'm very curious where they land on because her and Aphrodite, because Aphrodite, that one's even going to be more interesting because she's supposed to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. So
it can go a whole bunch of ways.
Who would you put there, Rue?
I mean, I went like real cookie cutter because again, I've been Oscars, so like Margot Robbie would have worked. And then Priyanka Chopra would have worked in my mind. Nobody knows who she is, but Jasmine Cephas-Jones, blind spotting again. But
people know who she is now. People know who she is now, don't
Jasmine Cephas-Jones, yes. Also a great actress.
You want to know what's sad? You want to know who just made me think? What about our boy Anthony for Apollo?
Oh yeah, Anthony Ramos would 100% work.
And he's got
Apollo.
that baby face. He's got that baby face.
100% will work for Apollo. For sure.
So for me personally, I know she's probably going to be aged out at this point, but she doesn't look a damn day over 30. Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, that would be a good Aphrodite. She would be a good Hera too, actually.
Yeah, I think about liking her better for Hera now that you think.
She might be a better Hera just because Hera is supposed to be she's on her vindictive side in this series. Hera is, so she would be very good in that role.
I'll say this: I did not expect to actually see most of the gods in the first season. Like,
I did only because I was following the cast list from front to back.
I followed the cast list a little bit, but after I found out who my main three were, I stopped because that's what I cared about most. So I was just like, all right, those are the three. Those who I'm riding with. Let's see how they do. And I'll say this: I was on board with the Walker Scobell casting from the beginning.
Right away.
I loved Adam Project specifically because of him. His young Ryan Reynolds impression, which honestly, as if you watch his stuff, you've learned it's not an impression. That kid is he's like a mini Ryan Reynolds.
Also, an instance of like, oh my gosh, how young was he during Adam Project, and how different does he look now?
Yeah,
in such a short time.
And his major projects. Adam Project. He was in Secret Headquarters. He looked a little bit different in that, but not too much. And then Percy Jackson. Just you see the aging, and then as you look at this promo material they've been doing, like going to the Disney parks, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, they're looking older. They're already looking older.
And more so him than the other two. That's the scary thing. But
for sure, which is funny because Arian's the oldest by a couple of years.
But hey. Colored people don't crack.
Hey, we know black don't crack.
Well, no. Hey, Arian's Indian. That's your But no, Rue, if you're gonna rate this, what are you gonna give this out of 5?
I mean, we posted on Bite Size Breakdown, so it is there now. But for me, it is a very, very solid and a very, very happy 4 out of 5. I am so happy about this show, and again, not perfect. Has things to grow upon, which they can easily grow upon with a bigger budget, more confidence. The main 3, growing up with them just like we did with those 3 back there, is just to be able to do that again is nice. I am a very, very happy man.
I keep going back and forth between a 4 and a 4.5, so I'm just going to, for the time being, say 4.25. It is very much the show I've wanted. Like you said, growing up with these 3 is going to be interesting. I feel like because of the aging thing, and the show was finished filming around this time last year, I feel like at D23 they're going to announce a 2-season renewal, so they can just go back to just for the sake of just filming back to back. We're going to get all. Because Fresh Prince did that. We're like, hey, we're renewing it for seasons 2 and 3 right now after season 1, because that's how successful. I shouldn't say Fresh Prince, Bel Air, I mean, because that's how successful the show was for us. So I feel like because we need to just get through these before they totally age out, that may be the way to go. 2 seasons at a time. See, because you just the reaction to this shows there's a want and a hunger for this. So
100%.
It only makes sense to just give it to them, and all you're going to do is make those fans who made this such a success more happy. These younger kids are going to grow up and show their younger siblings this show also, and that's just, you're just going to keep building on that fandom. So it only makes sense. Real quick, I know this isn't Percy Jackson related, but Hollywood did lose a legend today, and I'd hate to be on a live stream and not recognize that. So rest in peace, Carl Weathers. You may not be on this Disney Plus show, but you were on another that was about to have its 4th season turned into a movie, and I'm sure they're going to have to rewrite a ton of that now. Also, but besides that, if you haven't already, follow us up there on Twitter, WattReelInt. And if you're watching this on Twitch, follow us here also. Also, be sure to follow our sister channel, which is where our Twitch live streams that are video game related go to live after the fact, and that is Watt Gaming. Taylor's doing a fantastic job running that, being the spearhead of just having more fun on the gaming side and doing that. But also, finally, from my side at least, be sure to be on the lookout, especially on Twitter, for fan voting for what we're calling the first ever Real Awards or Real Film Awards. Myself, Amaru, and a few other people who we know throughout the space have done our own, or are in the process, I should say. Nominations just finished up last night. I got to finish tabulating stuff, but are in the process of doing our own award show, who will have a special host right now, as it seems. So be on the lookout for that. Rue's probably wondering what these ballots are going to be in the next few days when he gets it. So, but Rue, go ahead.
You can follow me down here. The Knicks are the number 3 seed in the East right now. That's why that has been my AIM username since AIM was a damn thing, because I'm a diehard Knicks fan. So you can follow me there on Twitter, but Amarú Moses, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also follow Bite Size Breakdown. If you type in Bite Size Breakdown, IG, Twitter, Facebook, you will find us. Bite Size Break on Twitter. Again, we just released 2 out of our 3 reviews for Percy Jackson. The 3rd one should be coming up fairly soon. It is edited and ready to go. Yesterday, we also just did a top 5 best original songs from created for a movie. I'll give you a warning. It is fairly white and fairly young. Well, not that young, but like if you seen the list that I had to fight against, yeah. So it's great songs. It's just not my top 5, except one. But it caused a bit of a sigh for me. But still, go check it out anyway, because I'm sure a lot of y'all will actually agree with those 5 with the honorable mention. It probably was actually the hardest list to put together after my number 1. And then we got a bunch more stuff coming out as movies start ramping up. And then One Gotta Stay is back. Just had a One Gotta Stay with your favorite actors. You have to choose from Marisol McKee, Lon Harris, the Barbarian, not the Barbarian, the other one, the Survivor, David Joy. If you are a Schmodown fan, they were on the show. Paige for Betty, also Schmodown alum, and Bite Size crew member Drew Warms,
and a Watt
who does
crew member
reviews. There you go. So that was just that just released on Monday. So we're back with that. Check us out. A lot of fun stuff.
All right, Rue, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this real quick for us to end it. Has this one season of this show proved to you that book adaptations are better off for the small screen than the big screen for major series like this, especially with us getting a Harry Potter remake happening on HBO Max?
I don't know if I can say it convinced me. I always thought television is probably the best way to adapt a book, just because of how much is in there. But there have been plenty of movies who have proven that you can do one if you do it well. I'll do this. It is much easier to adapt as a television series than it is as a movie.
Okay. Well, with that, folks, thank you for tuning in. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow everything we do over here. And we'll see you next time. Peace.